Let's talk about Mandalorian boob armor. Hey folks, Matt Easton here, Schola Gladiatoria. So I've been asked to wade into the Mandalorian boob armor debate. Shad's put up a really good video covering this topic, and my mate Raffaello as well has done a great video in the past on boob armor. I've mentioned it in passing, but I've never done a dedicated video on it, and that's not going to be done here. This is purely responding to the requests that I've received to wade into this topic. And so boob armor in the medieval period is a problematic topic, and I think this is something which a lot of people have skirted over in their videos, but it's a problematic topic because we don't have any armor made for women. We do, however, know that armor was made for women. The most famous example is Joan of Arc, Jeanne d'Arc, but we don't really know what her armor looked like. There are period representations, and it appears, certainly in the medieval period, that they just went for a normal breastplate. Okay, something like this, okay? And so long as you dome it in the right way, so long as it's fitted and shaped in the right way, you don't need to make it special on the outside to shape to the boobs. It's just not needed. But people get fixated on that, and that's true. But there are a few things to mention on this. So, bringing this back to the Mandalorian for a second, okay? Bo-Katan being the main example that people are drawing upon, I think. And if you're not watching The Mandalorian and you like Star Wars, you need to watch Mandalorian. I really love it, and I'm keeping up with it. But is there an issue with Mandalorian armor having boobs sculpted on the breastplate? No. Okay, why? Why do I say that? Well, first of all, I've already said that we don't really have any data points for medieval armour talking about boob-shaped breastplates, or do we? Well, it turns out we do. So some time ago, I was looking for something completely different, searching through some manuscripts, and I found this archetypal representation of women in ancient fantasy biblical times. You find lots of examples of weird and wonderful arms and armour and equipment shown in these sorts of medieval manuscripts that are not showing something necessarily that's real. Okay, so this image absolutely is not supposed to necessarily show real armour. In fact, it's almost certainly showing fantasy armour. But in a way, that's kind of like beside the point. That's not important, because the fact is that this is a medieval artist. This is a 15th century artist showing boob armor. So regardless of the fact that most breastplates look like this, and in fact most breastplates absolutely can be shaped to accommodate a woman's form, the fact is, we have a medieval artist living in the 15th century showing boob armor. Okay, so that's the first thing. So they thought that it was at least something that may have been plausible. Now, what might they be drawing that assumption on? Well, it may be on the muscle cuirasses that we see from the ancient period. It could be alluding to that. In fact, we do see other medieval representations in manuscripts which are probably inspired by classical, so mostly Roman, muscle cuirasses. So that's one thing. So that's the medieval. But the point is, we're talking about Mandalorians here. Now, this type of armour is not the same as Mandalorian armour. The fact is, Mandalorian armour is designed primarily, as far as we can tell, actually to protect them from blaster fire. So it's ballistic armour. So we shouldn't be looking at the type of breastplates which are designed to receive lances and hits from poleaxes and stuff like that. We should be looking at ballistic armour, okay, number one, and also modern protective armour. Now, there are two things. Obviously, in modern ballistic vests, they are not necessarily made specifically for women, but I know women who've had to wear them. In my previous line of work, working for the government, I know people who've had to wear different types of body armour, but equally I know people or I've spoken to people in the police, and many women do have issues with body armour that is just made for men. They need it shaped a little bit differently. Now, that's not to say that they need sculpted boobs on ballistic vests. I'm not going to say that at all. But the fact is that the requirements of different body shapes are different. Okay, so that's one thing. Secondly, this is Mandalorian armour we're talking about. It's not medieval armour, and the requirements are completely different. Now look at Mandalorian armour, it's very closely fitted to the body. So whilst a medieval breastplate, I keep lifting this thing up, it's quite a good exercise actually, whilst a medieval breastplate is kind of domed at the front, Mandalorian armour isn't. So whilst a medieval breastplate can accommodate a woman's form by virtue of the fact a man's one is already domed, Mandalorian breastplates are not. Mandalorian breastplates sit close to the body, okay? So if a woman has breasts, then clearly that armour is going to have to be shaped differently to accommodate for that fact. And the last point I want to make is this, and I understand that a lot of you watching this video aren't necessarily fencers, but I'm a fencer. I've been a fencer for a long time. And I know lots of women who are fencers. Certainly in modern Olympic fencing, there is a huge percentage of fencers are women. And there is a chest protector. We have chest protectors that sometimes, certainly we use them in HEMA occasionally. Well, in fact, most of the time we use them in HEMA. And it might even be a requirement in certain tournaments. And women chest protectors are shaped like this. And they are there for a very good reason, to protect the woman's breasts from impact. And the fact is they are shaped not dissimilarly to the Mandalorian boob armour. So I don't want it to be thought that I am pro boob armour in terms of like we should have it like in fantasy art, because it's obvious the main reason we get boob armour in fantasy art is because it's male artists, it's a male fantasy, or wanting to show the boobs. It's like the scantily clad, with bits of chainmail strategically placed that would offer no protection whatsoever. I'm not pro that. I'm not arguing for that. I'm not championing that. But the fact is that always, when you're myth busting, you can accidentally create new myths. And what we absolutely mustn't do is create a new myth that says there is no place in the world for breast-shaped armour. Because absolutely, for certain types of armour, for certain types of requirement, we can see it in modern sport fencing, what a chest protector looks like. There are situations where boob-shaped, in other words, body-shaped, it's just a part of the body, guys, okay, where body-shaped, closely fitting armour is what's required for whatever reason. And remember, guys, this is freaking Star Wars, okay? Lightsabers, don't obey the laws of physics at all and can cut in any plane. They don't have any handguard. Why do they use them in that way when there are far more logical ways to use them than the way that they use them in the movies? Let's not get hung up on that. Why do there are explosions in space? Why can we hear pew, pew, pew when we're in space when you wouldn't be able to hear? All of these things, okay? We understand. It's sci-fi, okay? We don't need to understand why everything is the way it is. Just accept Mandalorians have close-fitting, minimal armour. And if you got boobs, then that close-fitting, minimal armour is going to have to go around the boobs somehow, okay? Calm down. It's as simple as that. Just enjoy the show. Anyway, thanks for watching. Do check out Shad's video as well. It's far longer than this one and very in-depth and a good video. And yeah, thanks for watching. Any comments on Mandalorian or Mandalorian boob armor or anything else, I'm happy to read your comments below here. See you soon for another video on Schola Gladiatoria channel. Cheers, folks. Thanks for watching. We've got extra videos on Patreon. Please give our Facebook a like and subscribe if you haven't already. Cheers, folks.